assessing requirements and resolving problems on and off the field. He is also very intuitive of the energy around him. He is the author of a number of #1 selling books, The Quantum Mindset in a Nutshell, which explains why our thoughts influence the world around us and how we can use that power to better ourselves in ways you could never imagine. Welcome, Rick.
Hold on, I will unmute you.
So I guess I'll start by a little bit by talking about the book. You know, I think you guys already know this, that we have the power to co-create our future through our thoughts and energy. You know, and we're in a revolution right now. Like when the world was flat, everybody kind of believed the world was flat, but we discovered the world was round. And now we're discovering that the world is much more open to us through a method of quantum thinking, is what I like to call it, and the understanding of how the world works. And what we've found through quantum physics lately, just a quick little thing that, you know, everything is energy all around us. Everything is energy. And actually, the truth is, everything is a wave of energy until it's absorbed somehow, and then it changes to a particle. So we actually are creating the world around us by our observations. And this is proven by the double slit test, where they look at something and they shine a light through it. And when they don't observe it, it just shines through. It comes out like a wave pattern. But when they try to measure it or define that object, then it turns into a particle and it changes to a split where you see two slits. And nobody knows why this happens, but they just know that if we put some kind of thought or energy to observe what's really going on, we take the wave probability out of it and we turn it into a particle. And so everything really in life is a possibility. It's not a defined solution until we kind of focus on it. So we want to teach you this so you can realize that in your life that what you focus on and what you do can actually decide where that wave becomes a particle, in the positive side or the negative side. And in my book, we go on to explain very deeply about how particles and describe them and quantum physics works so that you can understand it. Because the first thing we want you to obtain through this book is a belief that this is possible. Because the #1 step to doing anything is believing. I like to say you can't even cross the street if you don't believe it. And you can look through history and see all the things we believed we couldn't do that we just couldn't do. And now we're opening our minds to things that are possible. And you're seeing people do amazing things that we never believed were possible and today do. And then we want to tell you how to do that. So what happens is our particles are determined by our thoughts, but how does our brain work? And what we want to do is we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And we actually have several minds in our brain that kind of all work together in a way to keep us alive. But all we really focus on is what our conscious mind is thinking about. So one of the main functions of our conscious mind is to really filter out all the things going on around us so we can handle it. And the conscious mind is a great thing. It allows us to analyze stuff and develop stuff and see kind of what should be happening, but it doesn't really decide where we're going today. What really decides what's going to happen today is our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind is 40,000 times faster than our conscious mind. So they actually have experiments where they can measure stuff and know what you're going to decide before you actually have decided it, because your subconscious mind makes those decisions instantaneously. So if we're trying to hit a target, you know, the brain being so fast at 40,000, that's the one we want to use. That's why a football player practices over and over and over again, so that when he throws that football, he doesn't think about it at all. His subconscious mind just automatically does it. So we want to review our subconscious mind. And so what really happens in our subconscious mind? Well, we have really, to me, several of these brains that do different things, and they don't really work together unless there's a crisis. Have you guys ever heard of the Iceman? He does a breathing technique, and he actually breathes really hard, and then he holds his breath so long that his body is starved for oxygen, and then at that moment, his whole body comes together to work on accomplishing what he wants. because the only time your body really kinds to come together in a total harmony is when it believes it's a life or death situation. So we have things like that that happen in life to show how powerful we are with our minds when we can get it all work together. So the next step in that is to just kind of analyze how that subconscious mind works with our thoughts. And we go back and realize that from the ages of 1 to 7 is when we make most of the rules in our life. We learn a lot of things from the age of 1 to 7 that are kind of ingrained into our mind. And these rules that we develop are kind of how we live. And what you need to do with your subconscious mind is understand the rules that you have so that you can kind of see why you're doing things. Because the truth is, we really get to make our own rules. And you probably have 100 to maybe 200 rules. And if you can analyze those rules, like some people might have a rule that rich people aren't very nice, so I'm a nice person. So you'll say, I want to be rich, but I may never become rich because I'm a nice person and nice people can't be rich. That's kind of an exaggeration, but that's how the subconscious works. It doesn't work on logic. It's more like, I've decided this picture fits with this meaning. And so we want to review our subconscious rules carefully so that we can kind of manipulate them for what we want. So we go through our rules and say, what do I want out of life? What's my dream? And then you say, well, what would I have to be to get that? What were my skills? Like some people tell themselves, I'm not a good speaker. Well, if you tell yourself you're not a good speaker, you've convinced yourself subconsciously before you ever even start, and you won't be a good speaker. There's so many rules that's the hardest part to me, is really to analyze your rules, because that's what makes everybody kind of unique, is the rules. And everybody has a rule. That's how everybody has to have a rule that'll justify whatever they do. So if somebody does something in life, like a crime or something good, they have a reason they did it because they justified it with one of the rules. Then after we identify our rules, we can take a look at them and try to change them. And you can change them through meditation or repetition or hypnosis. And there are different things. If you go to my website, thequantummindset.com, they'll give you kind of tools and means and methods to try to help you do these things. And so for me, I struggled as a child. I was actually labeled as mentally retarded as a child at the age of 2 and was put in a class for the handicap. And it took me a long time to get over those things, that I wasn't really stupid. What happened is, I had some family issues. Actually, my house burnt down and we were left out, and I was upset, and I was a daydreamer. And actually the things that they punished me for are the things that reward me today, being a daydreamer and thinking outside the box. So, but I went through life a little at a time and learned that, I wasn't so dumb. And, one of the major events for me that really set it apart is, I'm nothing special, but I decided I was going to set the track record in my junior high. And the year before, I told myself I would do it. And I took bets with everybody. And I just told myself this is what I was going to do before I ever did it. And I convinced myself that I would do it. And the next year, the first race I ran it so fast that the coach on the stopwatch didn't believe it. He said, no, this can't be right. So he didn't because of the first race, I got to do it over and over and prove it again. And I believe that record still stands today. And that's kind of like that 4-minute mile. It was believed impossible by the world. We don't only control the waves of ourselves, but we're kind of in tune with everybody's connected in this world on this wave, like an ocean of energy where we all feel the energy coming from each other. And so there's another theory that I've seen studied, and I'm going through this stuff pretty quick, so I hope I don't kind of get too confusing. But there's a story about the 100 monkey theory, where they were working with monkeys, and they learned to wash their fruit, and they washed their fruit, and they washed it, and they taught others. But once you get so far into teaching each other, all of a sudden, all of them all over knew how to do it on all the islands. So there's some kind of connection there when we learn something that we pass on, even though we didn't do it. So these are the things that, I feel that by learning, you can create a better life. For me, in my life, as I got older, I had a good life. And one of the places I got for a while is just a satisfying life where I had a home and I had a family and I was happy. There was no reason to change or no reason to go forward. And when I got older, my wife passed away on me one day, all of a sudden, just before my daughter's wedding. And it caused a tremendous amount of pain and suffering for me. And through that pain, I was like, the truth is I wanted to give up on life. And I cried, and I realized that through that pain I had turned in, it's all about poor me, poor me, poor me. And I'm like, well, what do I need to do? And I started reading more books and studying, and found out that I went to a lot of Tony events and read other books and actually tried different sciences, and realized that, you got to change the meaning. It's what you focus on. So I realized that I was focusing on the wrong thing, and the right thing was what do I do to celebrate the life I had with my wife instead of live in the suffering of losing it. And so now I live my life as best I can in memory of her to make my life great, so she will be proud of me and I'll make good use of my life. And that has given me the fuel and the energy to go out and learn these things. It's like with the background I had in school, I'm not the best writer in the world. I thought I'd never write a book, but it brought me such success, because when I started doing this, it's like it magically happened. I put out the good thoughts and just focused on good things and did everything that I'm kind of telling you should do. And I learned some of it from Tony and meditations. And all of a sudden people would call me up out of the blue. One day I got, I'm in post-stitching industry and I'm a leading expert, and I had kind of struggled for many years. But when I started doing this, I had somebody come out of the blue and give me a multi-million job overnight and then everything just fell together so I could do it. And it just continues to happen like that every day for me. So I'd really like this book to be like a tool to help others have that quality of life, because it took me a few years to figure it out. And I would love to teach the young so they could have that quality of life all their life. So I hope that gives you guys an idea of the book. I, have gotten a handful of good reviews, and I'd love to hear anything from any of you if you have time to kind of take a look at it and send me. And I also have an audio coming out on it, so it'll be on Audible here just in the next month or so. It's done. We're just trying to finish the contract with Audible. And, I'd love to take questions and see what you guys have to say.
Oh, man. Wow. Rick, that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. And I really noticed that when you it's almost like when you drop that victim stance of thinking the poor me, it loosens this tightness that doesn't allow for the next level it doesn't allow you to access that wave. I'm going to ask you a question. Normally I would allow people, but I'm going to ask you a question real quick. The collective, when we think together on something, is it like we make a wave more concrete when more and more people begin to believe, and that's why it becomes something that becomes like a network that you don't have to physically tell somebody? It's like it solidifies a network, and all of a sudden everything that's connected to that network, without them knowing, us being the humans that are connected to the network or the monkeys who are connected to their network, is that why that happens? Am I accurate in thinking that?
Yes, that's how quantum physics is really new, so you can't definitely say for sure. But yeah, we put out a wave, and the wave amplifies, and with everybody on the same energy, it puts it out, and there are studies that they do where everybody meditates, and they actually can reduce the crime in a city and do certain things like that. So it shows that group thought has energy. There's a story I like to tell about the ice. Have you heard about Dr. Miyamoto's ice, where he frees ice crystals and they bless it? And then on one, they isolate it over here and they bless it. And on the other one, they isolate over here and curse it. And the ones that are blessed turn into these beautiful crystals and have this great energy. And the ones on the other side that you curse turn into ugly blobs and stuff. So imagine if your body is 75% water, what your own thoughts do to yourself when you think negative about yourself.
And then I guess when you speak those thoughts and you speak them to people, and then those people begin to believe those thoughts and they reinforce your thoughts, it's the same thing as the neural network that you created. You actually harden that wave network and make that reality even more real. So speaking, I guess, crap about yourself to people is like basically just dooming yourself.
That's right. And the truth is, I've been to a lot of organizations, and most people do speak badly of themselves. They're not good enough. They don't deserve it. You know, that kind of stuff. I have another story I love to tell about deserving. You know, that was one of my problems is, you know, well, I'm doing well. I don't deserve it. This person could use more than me, or that person, or I haven't worked hard enough, or whatever your stupid rules are.
Yeah.
There's a guy, and he works his life and he has a good life, but he goes to heaven, and with him is a giant golden box. And it has his name on it. It's shiny and beautiful. And they walk away and he looks at this box and, man, this is a beautiful giant box. I just got to know what's in it because my name's on it. So they come back, he says, well, can you tell me what's in this box? And they open it up. And in it is all the gifts that God wanted you to have that you didn't accept. Because we are given every gift you can possibly imagine. The worst thing I don't like about that story is it's a box. Because the gifts we're given are endless, like everything. Our love is endless. Our gifts are endless. Everything, you really, in quantum physics, we think in it's endless everywhere, in every direction. And when you realize it's infinity that we're trying to realize, then you'll have a better world. And so not only can you have everything you possibly want in the world, but so can everybody else.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I guess that thought of other people not having creates that box, hence taking away from the fractal nature of it and allowing it to be infinite. So interesting. I could keep going on forever, but I'll stop and I'm going to let Betty talk. Unbelievable, Rick. Awesome. Go ahead, Betty. You should be able to unmute yourself. I made it possible to be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, it's not really a question, but the thing is that we put all of our gifts in that box. We do it. God does it.
However you want to believe it, we're given everything.
That's what I believe.
Accept them.
Because of us growing up, you know, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, okay, here's my box. I'll put that in there. Okay, here's my box. I'll put that. I can't do that. So I put that in my box. And to me, it sounds like, you know, that's the box that he took to heaven with him. But God didn't put it there.
Right.
It's like
God's everything. We're just not accepting those gifts.
Beautiful. Yeah, because it's like the reinforcement of the belief. Then it's like if you accept the belief that somebody else is handing to you, there comes that reinforcement again, making it more concrete, creating that box, creating the box at that point. It's wild. And you know, I think that in a time, forgive me for talking, everybody, but I think that's really interesting in a time that we're in at the moment, be it at that collective thought seems to be really important at this particular juncture more than ever, because we could be seeing the difference between a society that is comfortable and enjoyable to live in, or a society that may be very uncomfortable and very unenjoyable to live in. And it seems as though collective beliefs have the power to drive which direction this goes in. So things like I have, maybe you can answer this question. I don't know if this is something that makes sense at all, but our negative beliefs, and we've talked about this in here, but our negative beliefs trumped, no pun intended, honest to God, are trumped by positive beliefs. Are they canceled out? So if there's a lot of negative in the world and a small amount of people get together and create a positive meditation or a belief system, is that more powerful than the negative one?
Yeah, you know, you get into things that are kind of a belief, but to me, the belief is the positive waves are out there, and you can accomplish all the negative stuff you want through this thinking. And I think in the past, there has been people that have been very wise that have used this technique to rule the world and do things, but eventually you get out of balance so much that that negative side has to go down, because really perfect balance is kind of the lack of fear. Really what drives us is either fear or love. And as we gain knowledge and we gain experience, we lose fear. You know, one of the biggest things I think I have done in my life is lost a lot of the fears I have.
Mm.
And eventually man started, when he was beginning, afraid of everything. And when he has enlightenment, he'll understand the world enough that he'll be afraid of nothing.
Mm. That's fantastic. Mm. So good. All right, I'm going to stop because I could keep going still. And I'm going to see if anybody else has got anything else to jam on. If anybody could let me, Tracy, you got something to say?
I was just going to chime in. Well, thank you, Rick, for being with us tonight. It's funny because I was just on a neuroscience webinar today with Mark Waldman, and he's written like 14 books on neuroscience. And one thing he was saying about beliefs is that you can't change the brain. So if the brain has limiting beliefs, it's going to have limiting beliefs. But you can just start to activate, like through positive thinking, different neural networks and synapses. And the more you repeat those become your new baseline, your new normal. But you can't like erase what's in the brain. You can't change the brain. You can change how the brain functions. You can change the mind. You can change your consciousness. So I love that we're talking about this right now. And I love that you're here, Mark, Rick, with your book, consolidating a lot of the what's out there as far as quantum thinking, because we're a quantum collective. We want to transform. We want to keep growing, keep trying things to grow and be our best potential. So I was curious, how have you seen people using the things you've been teaching them to transform, to grow their potential? Can you share a little bit from us with what you've seen from your teachings and the work you've been doing with people?
Well, I see people that, you know, they find a peace in life and they become happier and they find success. They start to do things they thought they couldn't. You know, we have so many limited beliefs that they give them up one at a time, and then they get confidence and they start going farther and farther. It's one of the things I like to say is you can't feed them the whole cake at one time. You got to give them a little piece. But if you feed them a piece at a time, they'll eventually eat the whole cake. So you know, you just got to give it to people how they can handle it, because everybody's different and has different beliefs, and you don't want to overwhelm somebody with something or change them too much. You just want them to find new thinking that makes their life happier and better. You know, everybody has a different idea of what's going to make them happy and give them joy, and that's what we want people to do, is be able to kind of find your calling, so to speak, and find that true happiness and joy that has been given to you.
That's beautiful. Do you find it creates a domino effect? As
Yes.
one door opens and then it begins to make it possible, like anything else. So you climb that one ladder and then you're like, well, I climbed that one.
I believe it's very much like that. As a matter of fact, one of the things I've come to realize is don't expect a way for it to happen. Just ask for it, because it happens in the weirdest ways. It'll happen in a way you never thought was possible. So don't set rules like it's got to happen this way, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just say, I just want this goal, and I'll accept any way it happens. And it makes the door more open for you to get the blessings that you would like to have, because the world works in mysterious ways.
Does it work in the reverse? If you think too much about how you want it to happen, does it close off the door?
I don't like to say that, but it makes it harder, I believe, because if you make the events more fine-tuned, then they got to align with these beliefs. And if you make them so fine-tuned that this is the only way it works, it becomes a greater probability of making it happen. I mean, truly, if you had the ultimate mindset, in essence, you'd be able to create all kinds of stuff instantaneously if that was true. So I can't really say, because the world's been created and there's certain things out there that already exist and are the way they are. So we have other energies affecting it. So we're not creators of our world, we're co-creators. But you know, as you get going, you find out you can do a lot more than you ever dreamed was possible.
It's phenomenal. I love it. Let's see, anybody else out there have anything that they'd like to add in or comment on, anything at all? Because this stuff is super interesting to me. It blows my mind, honestly. Claudia, go to town. You can unmute yourself if you need to. There you go.
Cool. No, I'm just loving the conversation, because I'm like, even today, I was just thinking to myself, like, gosh, I'm like a lot smarter than I give myself credit for. So like the beliefs that you're talking about, Rick, are like, my belief was like, I'm a certain level of smartness. And lately I've just been like absorbing information like more than ever. And I feel like we have to be super careful about like what we put into our brains, because like it's like we're literally shaping our brains. Like I've been watching a TV show about tidying up, and my whole brain is like wired and like sees everything. It's like, oh, I can fix that, I can fix that. And so we have to be like so careful about what we put into our brains and how we train them. Like our brains are like a muscle, and like, yeah, if we are constantly like focusing on something, you're training your brain for that. So I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Rick. It makes complete sense. And I feel like even though I'm in this conversation a lot, there's like no limit to it. I feel like there's always like more that I can learn, more toning that I can do for my brain. And actually recently I feel like my heart and my brain have gone into much more coherence. So now it's like I'm learning so much more. And then when I'm meditating, the downloads and the sort of realizations I'm getting are like bang, 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 like over like, and so it's a really cool state to be in. Yeah. So there you go. That's what I have to say.
I'd like to say that, yeah, you know, they used to believe that you could only learn to a certain level. When I was raised, they said you can only grow, but they found that we can actually grow smarter and train our brains and alter, you know, our thinking process. And, you know, the thing that you really were talking about is a reticulating system where, you know, like you buy a car, maybe you buy this Fiat and then you see Fiats all over the place or whatever. Our mind searches to find the answer for whatever we think. So if you have some relationship, you'll find it. And so it's real important the questions you ask yourself, you know, because your mind will go into overdrive to answer those questions. But if you ask yourself why I'm so bad, it's going to give you a whole bunch of answers. But if you ask yourself the opposite question, why am I such a good person? It's also going to give you a whole bunch of answers. So we want to be careful the questions we're asking about our lives, you know, and how we do it. Because, you know, how do I make this happen? Or the right questions are going to make our minds search for those answers constantly. We're really in a beautiful place in our world, because used to be we worked on survival. So many of our things are about surviving. So they're instantaneous and look for negative things. What's going to kill us? What's going to get us? All this stuff. But today, you know, we don't have to go on the streets and worry about what's going to kill us. We get to worry about how do I be happier? You know, so we have a great place to be, and we just need to train our minds to think that way and give up kind of on the old systems, because I really believe we are, and you know, it's proved back that we're inherited traits. Like they did a test with a mouse, and they put poison in the smell and bred these mouses, and the next generation automatically was concerned about that smell. For 2 generations later, they had a bigger part of the brain that was focused on that smell over survival and stuff. So we actually pass these things on from generation to generation about what we're doing. So, you know, it is amazing how our mind and our body changes. And I think that's one thing that really make humans humans is we actually, you know, kind of change and develop ourselves through our life and then pass whatever those changes are needed to go on to the next generation through, you know, genetics. So the world is on the right path. I think if we look back far enough, we can say the world was a worse place 100 years ago than it is now with people. There was more hardship and violence and stuff going on. There was a lot less people, so there might be the numbers are not there, but percentages really for the number of people in the world, I think the majority of people are finding life better and it's a happier place and are moving the right way. There's definitely that negative element, you know, but without that, we don't have choice in a way too. You got to have a choice between good and bad. And that's one of the things that really a wave has is it has both sides of it, and we get to decide where we want to be.
You know what's beautiful about this, Rick, is it's really showing the observer side of us and how important it is to be the observer. Because like you said, if you focus on that which you don't, if you ask the question, why am I bad at this? You're going to get the answers. And if you ask the question, why am I good at this? You're going to get the answers. I think as humans, one of the things that we have a hard time understanding is that we're the ones asking the question. It may not seem like it when you're getting this rumble of maybe negativity and you're like, why would I ask that question? But allowing it to stay in that rumble. And this, I had a conversation with Dr. Kim Dioramo today, is really breaking that thought process, because it's going to want to stay there. It feeds on itself. Just understanding that it's okay to be thinking that way. It doesn't mean that it's true. Just that okay that it's thinking this, I'm thinking this way, and it doesn't mean that it's true, already starts transmuting it over into the side that allows you to begin asking the better questions. But if you keep beating on yourself, why am I asking this question? Oh my God, the bad answer again. How come I think like this? And you keep going down that road, it's like reinforcing the wave again and making
Right,
it more
and you're
concrete.
building those neural pathways in your brain, because when you have new thoughts, you build new pathways, and mylar builds around them until they're, they can happen faster. That's how a football player he does the same thing over and over, and these pathways for this action are built, and then they build like a tunnel around them so that those waves can be forced down that tunnel even faster than before.
And they're not like statically out and just trying to find their way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great way. I never even thought about that way.
Just got a clear path and they get there instantaneous. And again, our body is really about saving energy. So if we're thinking, we use the most energy when we're doing thinking and processing with our conscious brain, but our subconscious mind can do everything with very little energy. And again, we're back in the survival mode. I want to do everything with the least amount of energy. So if something comes up, I have all that energy to survive with. So the body's just naturally set up like that. And we're really using our brains, all of it, all the time. It's just not all working for us the way we want.
That's unbelievable. Wow. This stuff is so interesting, and it's so next level. It's like 5D thought, really. It's like, I feel like once people really start understanding this stuff, there's going to be this wave of like empowerment to the human species, of understanding that, yes, our thoughts create our realities. That doesn't mean that if you think negative thoughts all the time, that you're creating that negative reality and you can't control it. It just means that you've now become aware. You have to become aware of that creation, and find a way to forgive yourself. Be okay that you've done it this far, because it wasn't something that you were aware of, but the awareness is there now. And then once you do that forgiveness, it immediately starts allowing you to create that new mylar, that new myelin sheath, that new tunnel, that new wave pattern that says, okay, maybe I'm not this bad. So, I mean, I think what for most people is in today's day and age is we're such a quick fix type of thing. I think people want this to happen in like a millisecond, which I've seen it happen, and it can happen with certain people. But for those who have beaten the path down the other road for a long time, it may take a moment to go over to forgive yourself and say, oh yeah, I'm okay with the fact that I've created this crappy life. And, sometimes that's hard to sit with.
It's like I say, we only have one control really on our minds, is what we think about. So, you have that control. You might think a bad thought, but you don't have to stay focused on it. You can say, I don't want, that's not true. And that's what we need to do when we have a bad thought, like, I'm stupid. No, that's not true. I don't know, I thought that, but that's not true. I'm going to do what I really know. I can do this. We all have those measuring. We have to analyze everything. So, we kind of have to analyze our situation and know where we're at. And to be able to analyze, you have to be able to see both sides. You don't have to follow both sides, but you have to kind of be able to see it. So we're all going to think little thoughts that are terrible sometimes, but that doesn't mean that's the path we're choosing.
It's funny. It brings me to a thought of I forget who said this, or this tale, or wherever it came from, but I just heard it recently, that there was a group of enlightened people sitting around a table, and in the center of the table was a vase, and in the vase there was a bunch of different colors of roses, and they asked someone from outside the table would ask each person what color the rose was, and one person would say one thing, and the other person on the other side of the table, who's supposedly enlightened, would be like, well, wait, the rose is not that color. It's just because you can't see the other side of the table. And it's like all this stuff is allowing people it's like rounding the table. Like, you can't sit in that section of the table anymore. You have to accept that the view might be different because you're not sitting on that side of the table yet. Just accept it. It's okay that you saw the rose as the wrong color. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that I shouldn't even say that you saw the rose as the wrong color. Saw the rose as a different color. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. You just didn't walk to the other side of the table. So as you begin to see that you've made this life the way it is, just know that there's another side of the table. And I think that the empowerment that you're giving us is that it's okay to look to know that there is another side of the table, and you are the awareness that's choosing which side of the table that you'd like to look and view from. It's really awesome. It's empowering.
just read an article the other day. It's kind of far out there, but you know, they're finding new light spectrums that we can see, and they're getting these broader and broader light spectrums. And they actually believe they discovered another life form in a light spectrum that we can't see at all. But through these special telescopes and stuff, they can look through them and see these things that they kind of have patterns and movement that they believe could be another life form. So, you know, there's a million things out there that we don't know and we can't see. And we're just starting to become enlightened enough to realize that those things are affecting us again. I mean, really in the beginning, we kind of knew that there were things we couldn't see that affect us, and we believed that quite a bit. And then we got into, you know, Newtonian science, and if you can't see it and prove it, then it doesn't exist.
Right.
And now we're coming back to the reality that just because we can't see it, prove it, and prove it exists doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means we don't have enough understanding of it to prove it yet.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't gotten to that side of the table yet. So wild. Oh, well, if anybody else have anything else to say? Oh, Betty, go to town. Crank it up.
Okay, so I love this group, and because of you, I was able to do this because of the collective group. So I have my grandsons staying with me, and they were ruining my screen door. I have a walkout basement. So I went to Lowe's and I bought the metal mesh that goes on the screen door, but it was too wide. So I had to cut the ends off, and my husband wasn't home. So I went in the garage, I put it in the vise, and I'm sawing it with the hex.
Yeah, Betty.
I got through one, I got through two, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do the other ones. Flipped it over, I saw it, and I'm going, I gotta do that. I can do it. I did the other two. I can do it, you know? So it's what you put in your mind, and I did it.
Yeah, Betty. Yes.
I'm the woman.
That's what it's all about right there, is reinforcing.
Right? So it's all in your mind, you know, like, you know, oh, I'm a woman, I can't do that. Baloney.
Yeah, you can do anything you really put your mind to. And that's
metal.
That's awesome. You should get that tattooed, Betty. I saw metal.
Women, I'd like to say that, you know, the Dalai Lama and those people say that Western women will save the world. So women are projected to be the savior of the world. You know, women are becoming empowered and able to do many things. You know, it took me a long time to realize to some of the challenges that women have in life that men don't have. So I would say, as a guy, I apologize for those things. But you're very thankful for what you guys contribute to all of us on a regular basis.
Yeah, true that. That's beautiful. 100% on that one. Oh, well, I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say, but this, as far as I'm concerned, has been absolutely phenomenal. And actually, I feel bad that I have to eventually tell Kyle and Kristen that they missed out on one of our more badass meetings. So, but Rick, I thank you so much. There's usually a closing statement. I unfortunately do not have access to that closing statement. So what I'm going to do is just say, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out to come here, because it means a lot to all of us. This group was started in a very small space and has expanded into something that's quite amazing. Sometimes we have people on here from all over the world. It just depends on the evening. And it's just amazing to me that we're connecting with people like you. It's like the network that you just talked about. We're all starting to find each other on this network, and it's becoming really amazing. And your story is so empowering. So it's awesome, and I'm grateful for you. So thank you so much.
I'm very grateful to be here, and like I say, I hope that I do contribute. I know that I want everybody to have the gifts that I have and the great life. So thank you. And if you're interested at all, I do have a website. It's quantummindset.com, and you can come check it out. And if there's something I can do to help any of you, just let me know. You know, I want us all to live that great life we've been given.
Beautiful, man. And if anything we can do as a quantum, always tap on us. We're here for you. You can come if you need us for anything at all. If you need to come and speak about something that you're trying out and you want to talk to people about it, always call out to us, because we're here for you is just as much, man, just as much. Thank you so much.
Well, I do
Thank
have
you.
many ideas, so maybe I'll take you up on that.
Yeah,
That's all.
definitely. And we
That'd
love
be
that
great.
stuff.
Yeah. We would
Yeah,
love
go-
to support you too, Rick. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Definitely.
Thank you all.
All right. Well, we're going to send all this energy tonight out, guys, that we created, because we definitely generated a lot of energy tonight. So we're going to send all this positivity, all this love, and we're going to uplift. We're going to be the vibration that uplifts and makes the new wave. So send it out, y'all. Much love, everybody. Rick, thank you so much. I will send you this recording, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Much
you all.
love, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, love to you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, for hosting.
Very welcome. Much love, all. Good night.